Hello there. A new dark age has fallen upon us. A dark age foisted on us by woke socialists who hate us. And it's taken Elon Musk to point out the obvious by using his X platform to point out the dangers our UK youngsters face right now. But we also have Lord Pearson in the House of Lords telling it as it is and asking what the government intends to do about it. And we're all meant to ignore it. Now, I'll play that clip right now, but I've had to redact a couple of bits out of it for obvious reasons. Now, you've probably all seen it before. It is 6 years old, but I play it to point out one glaring thing that shows how deep woke runs in our establishment.
Would accept that if we extrapolate nationally the Jay report on Rotherham and other reports on Telford and Oxford, there appear to have been upwards of 250,000 young white girls in this century, very largely by and given these girls are usually several times a day for years.
Now, I've just played that and you've seen the one glaring thing, I would hope. Did you notice when all the other members of the House of Lords gasped and protested? Yes, it wasn't after Lord Pearson said 250,000, that's 250,000 young girls. It was when he mentioned the demographic of the perpetrators reportedly concerned. Let's have another little listen at that.
Would accept that if we extrapolate nationally the Jay report on Rotherham and other reports on Telford and Oxford, there appear to have been upwards of 250,000 young white girls in this century, very largely by and given these girls are usually several times a day for years.
So there you have it. Yes, the other members, the other peers in that foul, woke-infested house were disgusted, all right. Disgusted that someone like Lord Pearson 6 years ago had the temerity to let the cat out of the bag in their chamber. Don't be fooled. They all know exactly what's going on. But there is an altar of woke diversity on which these vulnerable youngsters are meant to be politically sacrificed upon. Something that 99% of mainstream journalists prove by their inaction to cover it that they agree with it. And none of them want to do anything other than sweep it under the carpet. Despite the likes of former police officer Maggie Oliver dedicating the last decade or more to bringing all of this to light. And it's not just Labour. This has been going on for decades. And many reports suggested it still continues to this day. Telling the truth is now the crime, and doing despicable things to the vulnerable is now venerated and protected at the highest levels of our uniparty establishment. And then there's Tommy Robinson. As soon as he got stuck into the perpetrators, they used his EDL connections to try and portray chasing down such evil as the unwelcome actions of far-right thugs. And I'll just say, before Richard comes in, that the reason the real good guys like this have had to really stick their heads so passionately above the parapet is because the people we pay so handsomely to do so balked in cowardice at the prospect. They froze like rabbits in the headlights of wokeness. They refused to do their jobs because they have careers in woke public service. Their morals were overcome. It's time they were all exposed and sacked or even imprisoned, however high up the food chain they are. So, Richard, what do you think?
It's quite shocking, really, looking at that footage. I mean, if these historical figures, I mean, I don't know what their figures would be today, but if the historical figures read out in the House of Lords by Lord Pearson are correct, and roughly 250,000 of our female youngsters were subjected to what has been claimed, then we have entered, or rather we have historically entered, uncharted territory, and I fear the lid is about to come off the pressure cooker. The pressure cooker is going to come flying off. People have to remain calm when watching this in context of what has been said in the past few days. I mean, both yourself and myself have continuously called for calm. Even though, like everyone watching this, calm is a state of mind that feels very alien right now. But anger must be kept in check, and taking matters into one's own hands should be the furthest things from our minds. Keir Starmer, Jess Phillips, these people are covering up evil and are therefore complicit in it. It's almost as if Starmer made a career turning a blind eye. But we cannot and must not react under instinct, to our instincts, and instead we must ram the genie back in the bottle and focus on the political route out of this nightmare. For the first time since I don't know when, there does appear to be a political answer, but the anger is there and it needs to be recognized. I'm seeing it right across social media. This anger must not be ignored. After all, we may have 4 years of having to tolerate the intolerable. And let us name this for what it is. This is the brutalization of the British people and the brutalization of our young. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, you have also had some pretty dark thoughts since Starmer came to power. Maybe thoughts of an aggressive and angry nature. You are not alone, and it's only human that when you are faced with extreme injustice being rubbed in your face by a government that hates you and all that you stand for, with a cabinet filled with evil liars who care more about people who could harm your offspring than they do about your offspring themselves. Yes, to feel deep anger and rage at such people is normal. Okay, it's not pleasant, and we don't want to be thinking these thoughts, but at the end of the day, we have to be positive and channel this correctly. I mean, always is Starmer so perverse in his thinking that he believes that in light of such historic and horrific injustices, and it's not just historic, this is happening now, incidentally, that in light of such horrific injustices affecting our children, we should be happy and grateful that he and his government are in power. A government that is protecting and encouraging the inward movement, I shall say, of a demographic that sees our offspring as fair game. We are supposed to remain calm about this, are we? Now listen to me now. It's okay to not be calm. It's okay to feel righteous anger and demand justice whilst it's still available to us. But that means we must stand and push for a democratic way out of this evil cesspit that this country has become. All eyes are on you, Nigel Farage. More rests on your shoulders than any man since Winston Churchill. For many of us, trusting you is a tall order after some of the things you and the hierarchy of your party have said. But we are running out of options, Nigel. So, Nigel, be the man that you have claimed to be and aspired to be. Make amends with Tommy and unite the remnant of the British people in this country, and through the democratic process, we will get out of this mess. Jeff.
Yes, it's really quite sickening, and what's going on is you can tell it makes everybody angry, and anger does spill over in certain ways, as we've seen just recently, and
yes.
You know exactly what Keir Starmer and his team would do if any anger spilt out over this. They would do exactly the same thing as they did over the far-right riots. But it's these are very dark times indeed. Now, this has been going on for decades. It's been dark for these young girls for decades. If there's a case for compensation and for people to be locked up, it's this. And I include the authorities, those in authority who did nothing or next to nothing. They're just as bad, if not worse. And it was all because of multiculturalism. Now, a lot of people tell you, and I think I've said this before, that multiculturalism is if you wear a different shaped hat, you wear different coloured clothes. It's all about food, music, and language, and all those goodly things. And if we spread all that about, all will be sweetness and light. But the trouble is, a culture is more than that. A culture is attitudes to children, attitudes to women, and attitudes to animals, and generally attitudes to each other of different religions and persuasions. That is also part of culture. And when you tell people they have a superior culture so they can come here and bring their culture, guess what? They bring the whole culture with them. And we are meant to just go, oh, okay, then. No, there must be one overarching culture, British culture. This is the UK. This is Britain. And we of the integrated British community are meant to trash our great culture and replace it with this heathen behaviour. And saying that is an insult to heathens. And I've got to say, I agree with one of the comments I saw earlier on, that Elon Musk is doing a great job on X of pointing this all out. It's going absolutely global. And he's even putting out tweets. I've seen some tweets quite recently today that he's been putting out on all of this. So it's really great to see him wading in. But why is it that the destruction of our culture and our society has to be highlighted by someone in the US? Why is it that we've allowed our free speech to be bottled in such a manner that we can no longer defend ourselves and we can no longer defend our children? Isn't that pathetic? Anyway, Richard.
Yes, I'm
sorry, I go on a bit.
No. So do I. No,
yeah.
No, the thing which I've just noticed is the silenced documentary by Mr. T is now on 148 million views.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
That's
I believe it's gone up by about 50 million since Elon Musk posted it on his Twitter page.
Yeah.
I mean, this is phenomenal. What Elon Musk is doing right now, he's getting directly involved in British politics, but let him be an example to us all. We all need to be getting directly involved. Yeah. One of the major ways that you and I personally do it is via this medium, okay? But what we're trying to do right now is to encourage people to be positive and channel this not aggression. Yeah, I suppose there are aggressive thoughts in people's minds, or are we meant to not think things? Are we meant to just be acquiescent in our thoughts as well as in our actions? It's okay to get angry. Channel it constructively. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sam points out on here 250,000 children and they still don't care. And that was 6 years ago, as I pointed out. 250. How many? That was what we knew about at the time, or the projections were. And yes. The reports I'm receiving or hearing about is it's just as bad now.
Yes.
What are we doing? I'm amazed that we're so compliant with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yes, I did see one comment earlier that said 250,000 of our young is the price to be paid for votes, certain demographics votes. Yeah.
I'm afraid to say that we can do without the 6 million votes then, can't we? That's my view. But there you go. Yes.
I'm just reading here a very tragic comment about a man's stepdaughter and what happened. Awful. I'm not going to read it out, but my sympathy goes to you, to your stepdaughter, and to all your family. Yeah, horrific.
Yeah, someone has said that this destroyed his town his or her town when they were a kid. I'm not going to put it up, but so yeah, it's these. What's been going on? I've been reading about this over the years, and it makes my blood boil. And we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to actually say anything. And when we do say something, they point at a trial. Oh no, you might interrupt the trial. It might put it off its rails. We hear that so much when woke and diversity is concerned, don't we? Oh, you mustn't say anything because it'll be contempt of court. You know, they just don't want us talking about it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, as someone said, we're all pressure cookers now. And I think people need to, the people at the top need to recognise this. It's just not right.
Actually, I think they do recognise it. I think they do, but it's gone too far. I mean, how can this be sorted out? I mean, at the end of the day, Labour, if they were to tackle this head on, they would be going against all that they have stood for in their principles and their values, and the principles and values of their core voters for the past couple of decades. This would be a very, very difficult move for them to tackle. I mean, what is the demographic right now of the people, the majority of the people who voted for Labour? I mean,
well, I mean, there's a good comment, Jamie DH303. Early today, Musk urged Charles III to instruct an election. Yeah, he did. Yeah. He said you should call an election. We're being let down, and right now, I think that there was a projection I read in the newspaper this morning that if there was an election today, Reform UK would win 72 seats. I don't believe that. I think actually they'd have a lot more than that. I think this sort of thing, as we need to keep pushing with this subject and subjects like it, because it shows how absolutely corrupted the establishment, our establishment, the people that are meant to work for us and protect our children, how corrupted they really are, how absolutely morally corrupt they are. And be in no doubt, anyone who allows this to happen is morally corrupt. They are. And if they are putting their little politics before the well-being of our toddlers and all the rest of it, they need to go. No ifs and buts. They should all just resign forthwith, including the entire Whitehall establishment that's helped it, that's abetted it, aided it, and facilitated it.
Yes. Mr. Murphy, 1992. I can't read the full comment out, but thank you for your super chat. It does say free Tommy and then do something else, but I can't actually say everything that's on there. But thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes.
Starmer goes on holiday when his brother died. No morals. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Was it that way? But he went on holiday anyway.
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, the man, as much as I dislike him, he lost his brother. I don't know. I can't criticize a man for that. There are plenty of things I can criticize Keir Starmer on, and we should.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's time for them to go. That's what the thumbnail on this video says. Get out now.
Yeah, they need to go.
The British people are too angry. Or if this continues, I do fear, this is why we're doing this, I fear the repercussions. People like yourself and myself, Jeff, and many other commentators out there, including, incidentally, Tommy Robinson, we are all trying to find the peaceful way out. And then you see our government and our establishment stoking the flames and say, oh, no, it's all fine. What do you mean you're feeling a bit upset about this? What's wrong with you? Why aren't you accepting this? Makes me absolutely sick.
Yeah. No, I know it's, I just don't know where. I'm going to move on because I'm getting angry and I can see people in the comments are angry, but I will point out to yet another thing that might have passed you by. Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe, he put this out on X earlier on today, if I can find it. If I can find the actual thing I want to show you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are trying out a new system here, so we're having a few little glitches.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Right. This is from Rupert Lowe. He says, "This is simply staggering. I have verified the source of this information as reliable from a GP practice in London. On a daily average at this practice, just 8% of appointments are used by British citizens. 51% of patients require an interpreter at the taxpayer's expense, also in effect taking a double appointment. 72% of all sick notes are issued to patients who do not speak English. So,
Jeff, was
I
that meant to calm us down slightly?
yeah. And I don't think when he's talking about interpreters, he's talking about ancient Saxon, Gaelic, Celtic, or Erse. Do you? And he does go on to say this is not what the NHS was designed for. This is not what we pay our taxes for. And I do agree with him. We have to put in place politicians who say all this must end now. We need it. We are being bankrupted both financially and culturally on purpose by this current, well, not this current crop, by the crop of politicians we've had in power for at least 30 years.
Yes.
So there you go. Anyway, that was just my gentle thoughts on the situation, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's disgusting, really, isn't it? I mean, if this was any other country, would that be taking place? There are parts of this world where I don't think any of us would actually get to see a doctor because we couldn't afford to go there.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, we can't actually get an appointment right now and to see a doctor. Or, I mean, when was the last time anybody got to see an NHS dentist, let alone anything else? So thank you, Alan, as well, for your super chat. Thanks, Jeff and Richard. Keep your faith, and your cool patriots. We are all doing super work, and we won't be silenced. Absolutely, this is about perspective. And when you talk about things, you know, sometimes this might be therapy for all of us. I think, you know, for you watching us, it's as much as it is for us, just to be able to speak our minds. And these are just conversations that are trying to point us towards more positive outcomes. That's what we want, positive outcomes. Unite the kingdom. Sign the pledge, people. Jeff, what's the address of the pledge again? Could you repeat that for everyone?
Yeah, thepledge.org.uk.
Yes, that will make a difference. That will make a difference. And the more people who sign it, the more pressure is put on our politicians.
Someone puts up a good comment from Jay Boyd. It happens to men, to not just women and children. Let's get that correct. Yes, it does. It's one of the vilest practices out there, and it's not, and it's done as much for control and as a weapon of war than anything. And that it's happening in our country tells you all you need to know about the situation we're in.
Yes, I just saw a very good comment here from the last Englishman. Britain abandoned Christ. This is the result. Yes, as soon as we became a secularist society, all of a sudden, secularism says that anything goes. Everything is equal. The cultural relativism dominates. Well, of course, in such a moral and ideological vacuum, some more powerful, you might say, and assertive ideology will gain dominance. And that's what's happened.
Yeah, there's loads of comments here that I would like to put up, but some I can't because they're sort of not algorithm friendly, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but people are angry, and this is what I'll say to everyone. Look, we get it. We get you angry. That's what this conversation's about. It's okay to be angry, but please keep positive. Keep positive.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to trust me.
This is a typical comment, really. John Johnson. I don't trust politicians, lawyers, or the police anymore. None of us trust the establishment anymore. I mean, the establishment has just about thrown all the trust, all its political capital out of the window, and it no longer commands any respect. All it now has is the law and the power of the forces of the establishment. That's all it's got, and that's what it's being forced to use. And it should be listening to the people and doing what we want. All they're intent on doing is listening to the likes of the World Economic Forum and doing what they want to us.
Yes.
And that is not going to end well unless they start listening. Yeah, and someone says this was going on in the 70s and the police at that time couldn't care less. I'm not so sure it's caring less or they're frightened for their careers because they've all got to be woke these days to get promoted and all that sort of thing. But there is also the other aspect of if you do arrest some people, what will the others do? And now the population is larger.
I did watch something. What was it? Of course, it was Patrick Christie's who you met the other day on GB News, and the point that he was trying to make is there's a reason why a lot of this issue with which Lord Pearson highlighted. I don't like to use the terminology too much. It's too. It just winds me up even saying it. But the point that he was trying to make is the reason that this issue is not being dealt with is because of the backlash. And he showed a fantastic example of what would happen by putting up footage of what happened after the Manchester airport initial arrests, you know? There was crowds outside of the police station. And that would happen again. If there were mass arrests regarding this, I mean, an entire community could explode. And it is what it is. That's what I mean, this is not just my speculation and Patrick Christie's. I'm seeing this right across social media. The police are frightened.
The other side of it is, of course, look what happens when you arrest people. Well, you're not sorry when a schoolboy scuffs a certain book.
Yeah,
look what happened there. The police were on that boy, and the teachers.
Yeah. He was an autistic boy, I believe. Was he? I'm not entirely sure. He may have been autistic.
Yeah, and the teacher, Batley teacher. Look what happened there.
Well, this is
not the way to run a society.
No, this is cultural enrichment, mate. We have to be tolerant of it, and we have to accept it. Okay, so Mr. Murphy, 1992. Does anyone else think Jeff looks like Bob Hoskins? I always thought he looks like Edward Woodward. That's that. When the first time he's Edward Woodward. That's it. Now then, I've got a little lighten the mood slightly. Why does Edward Woodward have 4 D's in his name? Okay, because otherwise, if he didn't, he would have been called Ewa Wuwa.
Oh, that's weak, Richard. That is really weak. Yeah.
It's just I'm trying to lighten the mood. I'm sorry. This is a pretty intense thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Someone says 250,000. That's right. 491 says 250,000. Did I hear that right? Yes, you did. And that was 6 years ago. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's coming to save us. We're going to save ourselves by voting this bunch out at the first opportunity. And it starts in May if they let us. Because I think they're going to try and cancel as many elections as they can get away with in this big rejigging of local government. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is another comment. This isn't my Britain, says Nicola Webster. I don't recognize it. Why does it need to be pointed out by Elon Musk, as I said at the beginning? A big question. Our politicians are gutless. Well, we vote them in, don't we? And then they let us down, continually let us down. And the people that are advantaged over us laugh at us.
A comment here, actually, by Olio. Too much nicely has got us here. Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I'm not going to say if I agree or disagree with that. What I will say is that overreach and overreaction will place us exactly where they want us, in a worse position. That is what you have to remember. There is nothing more than Keir Starmer would like than for us all to go down to Downing Street with pitchforks. That's what he's praying for. Yeah. That is what... Everyone, we have to understand the situation we are in right now.
Not quite sure what to make of this one. Elon Musk equals Jeff Tracy and Thunderbirds. Da-da-da-da. Coming to the rescue, international rescue. Yeah, may well be true. Yeah.
Yes, we hope so.
Now, this one is something that Rich and I do talk about. Bar Stewart says, because everyone else in a position to do so is compromised by design. Now, that's how you get on in, like the mafia and places like that. You don't get very far unless they've actually got you for doing something really nasty. So if you've gone out and done a hit job, they know, and they can use that to control you. And that's how they do it to each other. And that's how, I mean, do you remember, I don't know whether you remember, back in the 70s, there was this thing called the Tory Chief Whip's Black Book, with all the stuff in it about what they got up to in the evenings. And then if they came in and started getting a bit uppity, they get the little black book out and just remind them what they know. I don't know. Of course, that doesn't go on now. You know that, don't you? Yeah, sure.
Well, so, I have heard that, yes, a certain friend of Prince Andrew's who had an island, that the purpose of all that was to compromise people and then use that compromisation to further certain ends. Yeah. Sick world.
We are, yes. And it's And
thank you again to Mr. Murphy, 1992. Jeff, if you was PM, what would you do on day one in office?
Day one, I would. Well, that's a good question, you see, because actually, I'm not sure any politician elected can do anything immediately, because you can't even hire anybody, because you've got to go through the civil service machine that takes months. You say, I want this done. Ah, yes, Prime Minister. For the next 6 months, we'll write all the reports on that you need. You get the idea. So you go in there, you may have all the power on paper, but as Dominic Cummings pointed out, it doesn't actually go into practice. You would have to really, really go in with big support around you. And I think the first thing I'd do is bug my own office, so that when people came in and said things, I could then spill the beans to the public.
Well, I mean, the first thing I think you should do on day one, and make it apparently clear, because Jeff, you are going to be Prime Minister. We have no doubt that. But the first thing that I would, as your special advisor, of course, would recommend that you would do, would be to instantly, before you came into power, say, right, as soon as I walk through that door in Downing Street, the civil service will do as I say. They will implement everything I say, regardless of any international law or any treaties that we are signed up to. This will be done for the betterment of the people of Great Britain. They come first, not these silly, shadowy organizations in the background. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. My political advisor has spoken. Day one, I will do as my political advisor advises. No.
Yeah.
Day one, sack political advice.
Day two, have a coup to get rid of Prime Minister by a special political advisor.
Oh, dear. Yes. This is when the time comes, they will care. Well, yes, that's always the background, isn't it? Always in the background.
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, I have to apologize that I know that we are laughing, but we are trying to look. You have to laugh your way out of this situation. If you were to just dwell upon the seriousness of what's going on in this country, you would lose your minds. You really would. And the anger would just bubble over, and there'd be some very, very serious consequences. We have to be human. Remember that? Human. Laugh, cry. Nothing wrong with crying. I've cried live. I don't care. Whatever. Laugh, cry, shout, rant, but be human beings and connect with each other. And thank you to Peter J. Miller. I have just emailed you a classic story of moral corruption on the part of the police. My email is much the same as my ID here. Okay, well, we'll see if we can have a look at that, Peter J. Miller. Thank you very much for sending that over, and thank you for your super chat.
Yeah, thank you. Someone says here that Musk is now against free speech. I'm not sure if he is. He runs X. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be remembered, everybody, as well, that Elon Musk is not the answer. Neither is Donald Trump, and neither is Tommy Robinson. There is a greater power at play, and that is the answer. And I'm sorry, we have to regain our Christian identity as people. We need to be serious about this, because when we lost that, we lost everything. I know a lot of you are not Christians, but please just trust me on this. And this is not taking anything away from Elon Musk, Donald Trump, or Tommy Robinson. These are some of the finest men of, well, especially Tommy anyway, the most finest people that's ever walked this earth. But we need to be realistic realistic in our expectations of what people can achieve. That's the most important point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, this is the sort of thing we're up against. Is we can't take much more of this evil. I can see an eruption soon as people are so angry. Yeah, and this is the difficult bit. We've got to control our emotions a bit in order to, you see, revenge is a dish best served cold, not in the heat of the moment. And we must avenge those girls. I mean, I cannot believe that all the stories that are coming out, all the evidence that the police officers have heard, why are they not acting?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen some pretty horrific. I mean, you read the details of what some of those young girls went through, and it's, yeah.
Someone said it was stuck on 666 likes, so I pressed the button to get it off that evil number. Thank you very much. We are now past evil.
I've done the same.
Richard, we are now past evil.
Well, yeah. I hope.
Yeah, the more broken society becomes, the bigger government can grow so it can fix it. Oh, dear. It might be the other way around. The bigger the government gets, the more broken society gets. I think that's probably got more to do with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
As I said earlier on in the video. Yeah.
Well, everyone, I think we've covered a lot here, Jeff, don't you? And we could go on with this, but I think there's a natural sort of ending here, I think, for us all, you know.
Yeah.
It's up to you, Jeff, if you want to carry on. But I personally think that we need to be a bit respectful as well. It's different, you know, we are laughing and everything of very serious matter as well. But yeah, please, everyone, stay human, be human beings. Laugh, cry, shout, scream, whatever. Yeah. But keep it sensible. That's the main thing.
Keep it real. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it real. Just be real. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
On a good positive point, ladies and gentlemen, I hope the audio is better, because since I've started these live streams, my audio has been pretty damn rubbish. But we've just invested in something new, and you can probably tell the difference. Yes, Jeff eventually said, right, we're going to do it, and so here it is. And hopefully I'm not sounding like a Dalek so more, but there we go. And I just ask you, please.
You still look like one, but don't worry about that.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. You off the Christmas card list for next year. Not that I've ever sent you a Christmas card. But please do like and subscribe to this channel. Press the all option and all that. It does help if you like what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, come on board with us. And thank you that we've had another super chat there.
Yeah, Mr. Murphy, 1992. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I'm forever grateful for people like you and Jeff willing to talk about these issues when no one else will. Take care. When no one else will. Take care, everyone. See you later. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes. Anyway, on that note, I shall say good night from me.
And it's good night from him, and hopefully this outro will work.
Yeah, we're going for it. Thank you very much.